Hi there, I'm Brian Foster, Chief Product Officer here at ReliaQuest, and I have the opportunity today to talk to you about some recent updates to GreyMatter, our security operations platform, this quarter in Q3. I'm going to start by just kind of giving you a summary of the launch this quarter, of what some of the new capabilities are. Then I'm actually going to go into greater depth around each one of the features, what they do, most importantly, how do they benefit you. Then I'll wrap up with some key takeaways. With that said, let's just jump into what the launch is and just a high-level summary of what we've done. As a backdrop, of course, GreyMatter is a security operations platform that's built on an open XDR architecture that's available anytime, any world, operated as a service. The goal of GreyMatter is to improve your visibility, reduce complexity, and help you manage risk. Now, we do this by integrating with third parties, accelerating your ability to detect, investigate, and respond to threats that are found in your environment. With that in mind, some of the new capabilities that are coming this time is we're introducing a new automation capability called intelligent analysis. Intelligent analysis goal is to automate those activities in security operations that can be automated, allowing the humans to, instead of starting at step 1, start at step 5 or 6, with an ultimate goal of reducing the amount of time it takes you to resolve threats and incidents in your environment. Another capability is more improvements into our threat intelligence capability. Of course, GreyMatter is built to consume a lot of threat intelligence and uses that threat intelligence to enrich investigations, enrich detections. We've made a lot of improvements in that area that I'll go into greater detail in a little bit. We've completed the acquisition of Digital Shadows. So once again, kind of in the area of threat intelligence, we'll talk about some of the initial integrations that are already completed with Digital Shadows and how ReliaQuest customers already are getting the benefit from that acquisition. We're also going to talk about a new homepage, which is a new place for you to start your activities inside of GreyMatter. We're going to go through some new connections or some new integrations that we've made with GreyMatter, which we're doing on a continual basis. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about some new focus that we have on Microsoft's E5 and helping you, our customers, either move or get the ROA out of the Microsoft E5 license and the various security tools that are there. With that said, let's jump in and talk more detail about each of these improvements. Let's start with something I'm really excited about, which is GreyMatter Intelligent Analysis. GreyMatter Intelligent Analysis is built to automate the investigative process that an incident responder typically goes through when an alert fires. We've been running security operations for a long time, and we know when we look at alerts what information we need, and based on information, what do we need to do about it. So we've actually automated a lot of the collection and the analysis of incidents that happen in your environment. And with that automation, we can automatically determine what you should do about it. In some cases, we can even automate the response, should it be something that you want us to do. Now, the nice thing is this initial time to response goes from hours to less than 20 minutes when intelligent analysis is able to automate fully the analysis of a ticket. Now, there's a lot of benefits, of course, to this automated analysis. One of them, as I said earlier, is the humans get involved after a lot of that automation has already occurred. Maybe it's removing the noise, maybe it's doing all of the different queries that need to take place and taking all the information that comes back from those queries and putting it in a nice clean report for you. All of that happens already, so then when the humans are involved, they're doing the things that they're better at. And that leads to happier humans, quicker time to respond for those attacks and for those alerts, and ultimately gives you consistency inside of your environment. So intelligence analysis today, as a customer, you should start seeing these already, because this is already active for all of our customers. You're going to get the normal email you get from ReliaQuest, and it's going to have all of this enriched data from all of your technologies telling you what happened, what you need to do about it, in some cases, what we've already done about it. All of that from a customer you're going to already see because this is already active in your environment. So we think it's an important improvement and actually a revolution inside of GreyMatter of automating the DIR process, all with, once again, the intent of decreasing the time it takes for you to respond. Let's move on and talk about new enhanced threat intelligence capabilities that are available in the platform now. Of course, threat intelligence is a key part of GreyMatter, and we talk about part of the value that GreyMatter delivers is it improves the visibility that you have in your environment. We also improve the visibility you have into the threat environment as well. We take 40-ish threat feeds into the platform. We take those threat feeds and combine them together, deduplicate them, and then we use that resulting kind of combined threat feed to enrich the investigative process, the detection process inside your environment. We also have the ability, of course, to search those combined threat feeds, looking for indicators of compromise, but most importantly, looking for indicators of compromise that are actually in your environment. Or if they're not in yours, maybe they're in others' environments that are like you, that we can see from a ReliaQuest perspective. So that ability to both ingest threat feeds, use those threat feeds to actually enrich investigations and detections, and then give you a portal to which search and answer questions around threat feeds is core to what GreyMatter does. And we provided a lot of enhancements in this quarter to actually improve all of those capabilities. On the ability to ingest threat feeds, we provided new customizable features for you where you can actually bring your own keys, if you will, to your own threat feeds and integrate them into GreyMatter. We've always had the ability to actually ingest third-party threat feeds, and we've just made it much easier, much more customizable by you, our customer, to bring your own keys. So if there's a paid-for threat feed that you have that you want GreyMatter to actually ingest and combine with all the other threat feeds, you can do that now with these enhancements we're making. And then, of course, those threat feeds that are being combined and then ingested in that, enriched into the intel and into the detection and response process are used automatically to determine if those threat feeds in your environment, they may start an alert, or as we're doing an investigation, may be used to tell you more about that investigation. That capability is now in GreyMatter as well. And then last but not least is more improved ability to go in and search for IOCs. The way that you search for IOCs in the environment has gotten more powerful as well. So all those improvements pertain to threat intelligence and getting more value out of threat intelligence through the platform. Let's actually segue and actually watch a video that's going to go into more detail on these improvements. You'll be able to see for yourself.
Collecting and managing threat intelligence data can be time-consuming and difficult. In order to maximize your investment and provide you with enriched threats analysis, we went to work on an enhanced Intel platform. Intel allows you the freedom to filter against ReliaQuest's in-house threat research, open sources, and even government feeds, amplifying your view into emerging threats against your organization while leveraging your existing threat intelligence investments. Broaden your knowledge of the current threat landscape by measuring historical incidents that contain known IOCs. Gain context and to alert true positive, false positive, and anomalous safe rates across ReliaQuest's customer base. Leverage Intel's threat information in combination with ReliaQuest metrics to help assess impact and drive investigative decisions. Take your threat intelligence to the next level by reviewing related incidents. Deep dive into historical alerts that have fired from an IOC for your organization. Review analysis and previous close codes to identify patterns and commonalities indicative of risk. Combine tactical and strategic intelligence with known threat advisories related to an IOC. Gain valuable insights into relevant risks based on adversaries that may target your organization, understand their motives and how they operate. Review recommended mitigation strategies such as patching prioritization or security architecture changes to improve and assess your strategic threat intelligence and overall security posture. Gap assessments are made easy with related detection content. Identify and prioritize potential points of exposure to unforeseen attacks. With GreyMatter's Intel, you will have confidence that your resources are maximized with relevant data up front. Watch as detection and response rates improve with the added coverage, and provide higher alert fidelity and quicker time to action. Use Intel as your single source of truth and watch as your threat visibility grows.
Let's keep talking about threat intelligence because I am really excited to say we've closed the acquisition of Digital Shadows. Of course, Digital Shadows was a very important acquisition for ReliaQuest because Digital Shadows, if you kind of think about them having kind of two capabilities, if you will. They have one capability is, they have people that live in the dark corners of the internet and they're looking for, hey, is there any mention of your company name in that dark corner of the internet? Or is there any data that could be from your company available in that dark corner of the internet? So they live there and they have a lot of capabilities around detections for that. And they also take that same team that lives in the dark corner of the internet and they build threat intelligence and then they share that threat intelligence with their customers. Well, now that we own Digital Shadows, we're actually taking a lot of that threat intelligence that they create that's called primary source threat intelligence, and we're actually providing that to our customers through GreyMatter. One of the first ways that that's available is in weekly threat summaries. In fact, as an RQ customer, you already have access to these, and if you don't, actually talk to your customer success manager. But these weekly threat summaries are basically a weekly synopsis of what this threat intelligence team is seeing on a week-in, week-out basis. So once again, that threat intelligence team, they're called the Photon team, is sitting there living in the dark forums, dark parts of the internet, seeing what's going on. And as they identify new types of attacks or new attacks, they build threat intelligence around it, and then they share that with customers, once again, through GreyMatter now. Those weekly threat summaries, though, are available to you, and they're just going to give you a summary of what they see on a weekly basis. Also available through this integration is we're actually taking the threat intelligence that that team creates and programmatically including it in the threat feeds that I was talking about earlier. So now this threat intelligence feed that's inside GreyMatter is being complemented by indicators of compromise that come from this Photon team. And we're automatically using those IOCs to detect bad things that are happening in your environment, enrich investigations that are occurring in your environment, as well as from a searching capabilities when you're looking for IOCs and reporting on IOCs that may be happening in your environment or across any environment. All of that Photon research and those primary source IOCs are being included. A third capability that our ReliaQuest customers are going to be receiving from Digital Shadow's integration is really emergency threat coverage. Hey, every once in a while, bad things happen. Last year, Log4j was really a big worldwide event that really required more than just weekly communication from a threat perspective. It required constant, almost actually real-time communication. So all of our ReliaQuest customers are going to automatically receive, when emergencies happen like Log4j, real-time communications from us on what it is, what's happening, what you need to do about it. Some of that available through GreyMatter programmatically, some of that available in email and other types of communication. Once again, if the weekly threat summaries, you're not receiving those, you can talk to your CSM now. You should be able to receive those because all RQ customers, all ReliaQuest customers, they're available for today. So those are some of the initial integrations with Digital Shadows. I would say what you're receiving is more information to help you understand your environment and what's going on in the world, and then actually help improve detections, investigations, and response in your environment. So let's move from Digital Shadows over to some improvements we've made to the homepage. Of course, the homepage is what you initially see when you log into GreyMatter. You always have seen kind of a banner pop up if there's any news that we want to share, but we've changed the home screen itself to show a little bit more information about what's going on in your environment. So it's less of a static page and it's more dynamic. It's telling you, hey, how many incidents are open or closed in your environment? What's the trend for those incidents in your environment? How long they're open? It's also giving you far greater detail of what integrations are in your environment and their status. So the intent for this new homepage is to, one, give you kind of an at-a-glance update on what's going on, and then you can click on any of those areas to actually dive into that area of GreyMatter. So if you want to understand what incidents are open, you can click on that and it'll take you to open incidents. If you want to understand your technologies, you can click on those and you can get to the status and where those are configured and maintained. Why don't we show you a little bit more of what it looks like.
Welcome to your new homepage. The new GreyMatter homepage brings your most important information about your security environment to the forefront. This includes quick links to key environment information such as currently active threat hunting campaigns, deployed detection rules, and GreyMatter integrated log sources. We've also added new security summaries to highlight that gives you direct access to the information you care about. These summaries showcase the value that you are getting in real time and allow you to immediately see the active alerts being addressed by ReliaQuest, as well as the alerts escalated and waiting your response. The new homepage now presents a rolling weekly summary of alerts, opened and resolved, in addition to an all-time historical escalation file, which is also available in Model Index. Lastly, we've redesigned the technology status table to better display your integrated technologies and their GreyMatter capabilities. With GreyMatter, now it's even easier to cut through the noise and see the things that matter most.
One of the biggest reasons why people use ReliaQuest and GreyMatter is we help you empower your existing investments. We help you get the ROI out of the security tools you've already purchased and deployed. With that in mind, one of the areas that here in the product organization we spend the most amount of time on are third-party integrations. We need to make sure that with each of these integrations, we can query those technologies for whatever data we need to do an investigation, and we can also go back and do responsive actions once we determine what's happened and what we need to do about it. How can we do that automatically? So we're always looking at integrations, how we build this bi-directional integration, bi-directional capability. So every quarter, we're actually adding new integrations and we're recertifying existing connectors. Adding new integrations makes sense, and I'll talk some more about each one of these. The recertifying also should make sense because every security tool is continuing to change, adding capabilities to themselves, sometimes removing capabilities. And as, once again, core to our success is our ability to integrate bi-directionally, is we have to keep our integrations up to date as well. Now, on the new integration side, you're going to see a heavy focus this quarter on Microsoft. We're spending a lot of time making sure Microsoft works in your environment. So one of the first integrations we've done is with an API set called Microsoft's Graph API. One of the things about Microsoft's solutions is their APIs aren't necessarily named after the products themselves, and the Graph API is no different. This Graph API actually gives ReliaQuest the ability to both query and do responsive actions for a whole host of the security products that are available, for example, in a Microsoft E5 suite. It's through Graph API that you're able to integrate and pull back data from endpoints, from email and O365. It's also through the Graph API that you can do automated responsive through O365 and endpoints as well. So integrating with Graph API gives us far better power and flexibility in both what we can pull back from a data perspective and the automated actions that we can send back. I'll give you a good example. Our in-depth coverage of the Graph API is allowing us on an endpoint to go from pulling back maybe 20 data elements to over 200 data elements are available. Our responsive actions also double in terms of using Graph from an integration perspective. So bidirectional integration, Graph API from Microsoft is actually one of the core APIs, and we've added full support for that here in Q3. Customers are going to see that in better investigation and response, as well as more complete playbooks when you need to be able to do responsive actions. Another Microsoft API set that we've added support for is the Azure Active Directory. Of course, Azure Active Directory is the identity layer inside of that E5 or E3. It typically sits in concert with AD today in most enterprises. Maybe some enterprises have gone completely to Azure AD, but most of them I talked to have some element of both. But of course, Azure AD has a bunch of user context data that we now have access to from doing investigations, and those initial queries pulls back user data, and also has really rich responsive actions capability that helps us from a response perspective. So for example, an alert fires, we do the investigation and we say, we want to reset this user's password. Well, the Azure AD APIs is the APIs we can use to go reset a Microsoft Identity's user's password. We can also, in addition to reset their password, we can, pause the user's account. So all those different user actions you want to take through an identity provider, we can do through the Azure AD API. So that's a second API we've added here recently. The third is actually with SimulLogic, and it's a little bit unlike the previous two. SimulLogic is a next generation SIM that's based in the cloud. And it has two components to it. It has an analytics component and kind of a proper SIM component. And we've provided integrations for both. In fact, we've even done more than just integrations. We wrap both of those in our services. So we can help you move to SimulLogic if you're moving to SimulLogic from a previous SIM. We can make sure that that SimulLogic is set up with all the right detections that you need for your environment, mapped to MITRE's attack framework, mapped to our own risk scenarios. We can make sure that the health of SimulLogic is monitored and managed on an ongoing basis. And of course, all the capabilities that are in GreyMatter support SimulLogic, from being able to do detections that fire in SimulLogic, make sure all the investigations pull all the data that comes back from SimulLogic, and then lastly, make sure that any responsive actions can be done through SimulLogic as well. So we basically have included SimulLogic in the suite of SIMs that we fully support and enable our customers to get the value of in their enterprise. So those are the three new integrations we had, which is, of course, the Graph API, Azure AD API, and, of course, full support for SimulLogic in your environment. From a recertification perspective, this typically is when a vendor is adding new APIs that allow us to either build new playbooks or add new queries or both. And this quarter, there were three new integrations, or three new certifications, that we updated. The first of those was around Carbon Black Threat Hunter. Carbon Black Threat Hunter added some APIs, allowed us to build some additional playbooks around workflows and a few other things. The full list of those, once again, will be available through your CSM or through the platform. We've also recertified Mimecast. Mimecast also added some new APIs that gave us more detail we can search for in terms of looking for hashes inside email, but also some additional details from what we can do with Mimecast data inside the product with playbooks. And then last recertification was with Palo Alto Wildfire. We've added a new recertification for Palo Alto Wildfire that's largely just making sure it works with the latest versions of Wildfire. We didn't add new playbooks or add any new data that could be received, just making sure it works with the current platform coming from Palo Alto. It also sets us up for some improvements and some new capabilities we'll add in the future for Wildfire. But those are three of the recertifications that took place this last quarter. So that's a lot of the integration work that we've done. And as a customer, what does that mean to you? It means, hey, I'm either getting, query data into my investigations from these technologies, helping you get, once again, the ROI out of it, giving you responsive actions through it, or just recertifying, making sure that what you already have continues to work and to add value. The last piece I wanted to go in depth on is our support from Microsoft. And I actually just spent the last couple of minutes talking about our new support for the Graph API and the Azure AD API. but it all goes in hand with we're embracing the ability for you to move to Microsoft E5. Microsoft E5 has, I think, 9 different security tools and technologies in it. A lot of enterprises are looking at, hey, I've got an E5 license. How do I leverage some of this? Some customers are going all in on E5. And it doesn't matter which of those 2 camps you're in, we can enable you to get the ROI out of Microsoft and make sure that you're reducing complexity, increasing your visibility while you do so. So in the Microsoft-only environments, we do help you maximize the use and the effectiveness of those Microsoft tools. Sitting on email, sitting on your endpoint, and of course Sentinel is the SIEM, helping you provide detection content there and tuning to make sure that everything is working in its optimal shape to allow you to do the detection, investigation, response that your security operations team needs to do. So we help you optimize in those Microsoft-only environments. We, of course, really shine in those environments that are heterogeneous, where it's a mix of Microsoft and non-Microsoft. And in those environments, our ability to improve your visibility, because we really reduce the complexity and abstract you away from, you may have 2 SIEMs in your environment. You may have part of your real estate that's running and sending events into Sentinel. You may have other parts of your environment that are sending your events into another SIEM. Well, for GreyMatter and ReliaQuest, it doesn't matter. When we do an investigative process, we can reach out to both at the same time, pull back data from both at the same time. We can help your Microsoft detection tools work side by side with your non-Microsoft detection tools, all in an effort of, once again, helping you get improved visibility across your entire environment, Microsoft or not, and improving your ability to reduce complexity, speed up your time to detect and respond to threats in your environment. So a lot of this comes from those integrations that we've done, like with Graph and with AAD. Future integrations we continue to work on, but it's all around making Microsoft work in your environment. So with that said, those are the details on the areas that we've improved this quarter. Let me summarize what those key takeaways are. I started with intelligent analysis. Of course, intelligent analysis is automating those things in the SOC that can be automated, such that when the humans get involved, they're starting on step 6 instead of step 1. Ultimately helping you speed up your time to resolve issues in your environment, which obviously is the goal and the mission of your security operations team. We've also announced really 2 different areas that we're enhancing threat intelligence and how it's used inside the platform. We've made our own enhancements to our threat intelligence features in the platform, helping you bring your own keys, helping you improve your ability to search and access information, et cetera, in your environment. We've announced that we've closed the Digital Shadows acquisition. There's already 3 capabilities that at the time of closing are available to RQ customers. First of those is weekly threat summaries. We're already taking those indicators of compromise that are sourced by Digital Shadows' own primary threat intelligence team and integrating those into GreyMatter and being consumed. And then third is when bad events happen, RQ customers are automatically going to get real-time threat updates, real-time intelligence summaries around that bad event, right? Those are 2 areas of threat intelligence things we've talked about. We've also talked about, we refreshed the home screen, making it easier for you to find places where you want to go inside GreyMatter. We've talked about new integrations that we've added across Azure AD, Graph API, and of course, making SIEM-o-Logic, a managed SIEM inside of our environment, recertifying Carbon Black, Mimecast, and Wildfire from Palo Alto. And then last but not least, we just talked about our focus on Microsoft E5, how we can really do a great job helping you move to, stay on, get value out of the Microsoft E5 technologies in your environment. So those are the big takeaways and what they mean for you. My name is Brian Foster again. I've included contact information on this slide. If you have any questions, the first place to go is your customer success manager. Your customer success manager can help you answer any questions that you may have across any of the things I've announced today. The customer success manager also, whoever it is, knows how to get a hold of me. I've included my email address here as well. If you have any questions or feedback, I'd love to hear it. I've also included our overall email and phone number for you. With that said, I really appreciate your business. I really appreciate your time. Have a great day. Thank you.